I'm really excited to live in this future South Africa.
How big do you think Parliament should be, and how regularly do you think we should vote?
I at the moment, just for the case of simplicity, we're keeping at 400. So if you take 400 and divide it by the population, it works out to about 150,000 per representative at national level. We don't think that's too unreasonable.
Okay.
If we have to halve that, then the representative is now looking after 300,000, representing 300,000. So then they might become a little bit out of touch with the people.
I hear you.
So we're relatively happy with the 400. Could we reduce it over time to 350 and then 300? We open to exploring that.
Especially as the communities get stronger?
Definitely, especially because communities will be doing most of the service delivery that affects you and I on an everyday basis.
Yeah. How regularly do you think we should vote?
Every 5 years.
You're happy with that?
Definitely.
What are your opinions on Orania? I'm only asking because a lot of what you're proposing, I think, is a lot of what they claiming to pilot. They've got their own local municipality that they built from scratch. They do their own service delivery. They've built their own school. For all intents and purposes, they now have solar that they're trying to go fully off-grid. They're trying to be... I'm not asking about Orania as a, Afrikaner dorp. I'm just asking the project of...
I don't think you can ask about Orania without asking about the Afrikaner dorp.
Okay, please go for it.
I believe for a progressive society, if we want South Africa, so my vision for South Africa is that the rest of the modern world will look to us as examples of what a democracy and progressive society should be.
Yeah.
And we will be leaders and innovators in the world, South Africa, while the rest of the world is falling apart. While Canada and America and Britain are falling apart, they'll look to us. And I believe that's so integral to a society that has progressed past survival mode is a mix of cultures, beliefs, and ideas. That's actually so important to a thriving democracy. So to have like a single culture in a region, that will never happen. Even with the demarcations we've set out for local government, they are broad enough to incorporate all sectors of society, and that is extremely important.
Do you believe in forced integration?
Not forced.
What if a certain community wants to get rid of certain people as a majority, 75%?
Get rid of?
Yeah.
Everyone has a right to live wherever they want to.
But a certain community says, no, some of these people we don't want.
This is a good example why national government needs to take care of the justice sector.
Okay.
Because inherently, that is wrong. You're just going to exile your neighbors because you don't like them.
So I'll use maybe a more practical example. Speaking about multicultural spaces. We've got very big townships. Maybe Soweto as an example. Largely black. It may have different cultures in terms of Zulu, Xhosa, Swati, Tsonga, etc. But largely black, and it is not, let's say, multiracial. Yeah. And you may find certain neighborhoods in certain spaces where they will try and organize. If we go communal, and whoever runs the state agencies, they'll make sure that certain people are told, no, that house is gone. Meanwhile, the house is available, and because people do that. You've got certain Muslim communities, colored, Indian, etc. My question is, you get a community of 150,000 people that sit down in their own weird ways, and they try and get it done, and they're like, no, this is how we are, and this is how we want to operate. Do you support something like that? Because I'm bringing it back to Orania. They did it.
On a personal level, I despise that kind of thinking. And
Sure.
I know I'll probably... I don't know how the rest of South Africa feels, but I despise that. I despise that exists. We actually, and I know it's not going to be the solution, but to change the mindset, we want to get rid of color classifications.
Race.
Race, yes. Race is
Completely.
a social construct.
No, that is correct.
So I believe we actually ignore our beautiful cultures when we just see ourselves as a color.
Sure.
Race. So it will never be in an ID book, it will never be on a birth certificate, it will never be in surveys or demographics. Sometimes you apply for something, credit or whatever, and you have to put your race.
Sure.
That won't exist. That cannot exist in an OM society and world. And we don't want to force anyone to do anything.
Yeah.
But when you have a country that has progressed to a point where there are better laws, better forms of government, it shouldn't matter what belief systems your neighbor has. It shouldn't matter what color their skin is, because we're all living in the same South Africa based on the same values and principles. And if your neighbor breaks the law, then they break the law, then they need to suffer the consequences. But wanting to foster, and also I hate it when people speak about minorities this, minorities that. It drives me up the wall because maybe I'm just a few years ahead here, but I actually have absolute pride and love for South Africa, and I want people to feel, dare I say, patriotic about our country.
Yeah.
And we're all a part of it. We have a very complicated history. I don't deny that. But at the same time, we need to move forward, let go of the things that are not working for us, which is a lot in the political system, and move towards a place where we can strengthen our sovereign state and eventually get to the point where we can stand strong in the world as the example of what society can look like, where people can live free in a democracy.
Outside of, or let's assuming Orania was a multicultural space, I don't know if you've studied it enough. Would you say that's somewhat of a model of what OM is looking for?
No, I've been to Orania once.
Sure.
And it felt weird. It felt like there was something missing.
I wonder what it was.
No, but what's actually missing is, I feel like innovation, intellect. It was missing that. It's like people decided to break away from a paradigm they were not happy with, and they're rotting there. Rotting there.
Hectic.
That was my perspective. It was many years ago.
Okay.
That was my perspective. There's no intellect, innovation, advancement, progress. So yes, they had their own currency, their own schools. But this is why I say, for a society to progress, you really do need that multiculturalism to exist. Because we bounce off each other, we feed off each other.